the last 2 weeks, I've become increasingly obsessed with and embedded in the secrets of Animal Well. At first, I thought this was just another cute little Metroidvania with some cleverly hidden treasure chests to find. I'm not so naive anymore. Not only is Animal Well lovely to behold and a pleasure to bound around, it's a puzzle lover's paradise. I've covered pages of physical notes and arrows, weird symbols, and zigzag lines in my hunt to untangle its incomprehensibly thick web of mysteries. I'm deep within the Animal Well, and I have no desire to escape anytime soon. Animal Well opens with what can only barely be described as a setup. You see 4 flames and then wake up as a little blob guy in a dimly lit cavern. You can move left and right, and you can jump. That's it. Everything else is up to you to puzzle out on your own through trial, error, observation, and discovery. It's hard to dive into the specifics of Animal Well's brilliance without spoiling the whole darn thing, because even telling you what your basic objectives are takes a bit of the fun out of figuring them out for yourself. It is a Metroidvania, with a sprawling map that gradually opens up as you unlock new ways to interact with it. But it's one without combat, and with few challenging platforming sections. It mostly trades mechanical difficulty for intellectual challenge through layers of puzzles and a focus on experimentation. Every single screen has at least one secret lurking in the shadows, if not far more. At first, I was deluded into thinking these secrets were as simple as using a frisbee to hit a button so I could enter a hidden room with a treasure chest. But the longer I played, the more delightfully obsessed I became with scanning every pixel of every wall for answers to a seemingly endless parade of strange questions. What's so brilliant about Animal Well is that despite the lack of context or tutorials, it does a good job rewarding the experimentation it encourages. Very early on, this freaky ghost thing will block your progress. What can you do? Not much, until you meander down another path and find some firecrackers growing out of the ground. Put 2 and 2 together, and a flurry of colorful sparks and a lot of loud noise later, the ghost is gone. All of Animal Well is like this. Throwing spaghetti at the wall is rewarded swiftly and consistently. If you don't understand what to do in any given situation, it's okay to give up and explore somewhere else. Everything will be where you left it when you return later on, which you will, many, many times. This map is so big, detailed, and secret-infested that you're almost never bottlenecked. Your most immediate objective, reaching those 4 flames, is even more enjoyable if you embrace the meandering. In true Metroidvania fashion, each flame's zone hides a key item that the area is then built around. These tools are collectible in any order, but having ones from other zones can make the area you're in easier or more rewarding. Your little blob never gets more powerful than it is at the start, but your mastery of a growing toolkit will eventually have you bouncing all over the dang place. You will also stumble into boss encounters of sorts. Despite your blob being non-combative, Animal Well expertly creates tension and anticipation in the build-ups to its biggest moments. For instance, one major zone themed around a giant ghost dog had me seriously on edge throughout my entire trek across it, just because of how it telegraphed what I'd eventually have to accomplish. Your blob may not be able to fight, but that doesn't make a successful escape from imminent demise feel any less triumphant. The longer you play, the more time you're likely to spend circling many of the same areas over and over, looking for bits you might have missed. While that might sound tedious, it helps that this world is gorgeous to look at, and very, very fun to simply goof off in. It's got a retro pixel aesthetic with the detail dial turned up to 11, with optional scan lines adding to that marriage of classic style and modern art capabilities. Every single screen feels meticulously crafted, every pixel perfectly placed, from tiny flowers and draping vines to massive waterfalls reflecting shimmering lights. The well is lush, with a beautiful and thoughtful use of both color and light that draws the eye to objectives and sometimes protects well-hidden secrets. And everything is constantly moving. Vines sway as you push past, grass rustles, hanging lights swing and clatter together in a breeze. While playing on a gamepad, everything my blob guide touched prompted some level of additive rumble too. Whether it was a light bump as I passed a switch, or a harder plop as I fell in water. The delicious tactility of everything felt good on its own, but was enhanced even further with each new discovery I made of how my little blob fellow could influence its environment in ways both large and small, simply by moving through it. There's even touchscreen compatibility on Switch that let me rattle hanging lamps and disturb the grass just by poking at the screen. I also want to praise the excellent sound design, which fills this well with haunted creature cries, eerie echoes, and mysterious ambient noise. But I do wish Animal Well had more music. I think I understand why it forgoes a traditional soundtrack in favor of silence most of the time. There is something appropriately unsettling about the lack of background music throughout most of the well. But I still miss it, especially as I looped repeatedly through the same areas on my umpteenth secret hunt. It only took me 5 hours to reach the credits. For many, that will be satisfying enough. And apart from ending a little more abruptly than I expected, it's hard to find fault in the most basic, bite-sized experience Animal Well has to offer. But after the credits rolled, it became clear to me that some of the optional distractions held deeper secrets than I'd previously realized. Keeping things as vague as possible to avoid spoilers, it took me another 20 hours of exhaustive searching, thrilling moments of discovery, and occasional head-splitting frustration to be more satisfyingly rewarded for my thorough efforts. Was I finally done? Had I finally seen everything? No, not even close. I'm almost 40 hours in and still chugging because the feeling of genius I get each time a puzzle clicks with me is just that satisfying. This manic treasure hunt is where Animal Well's most brilliant puzzles lie, but also where a bit of friction finally manifested for me. Fun as it is to spend hours staring intently at the map, searching for tiny, unexplored corners that might be secret treasure troves, the hunt can get taxing. There's no real method to narrow down a search for a particular item, or even know for sure if you're missing what's needed for a given puzzle. But I almost needed to keep going. The endgame isn't so much an endgame as it is the game itself, with the first 5 hours of recognizable Metroidvania structure serving more as an introduction for the mysteries to come. These are relatively minor quibbles, too, especially given that they were largely encountered in the context of frazzled, hungry secret finding without the help of guides that will inevitably arrive after its release. Every moment of exasperation I felt was eventually solved by either going to bed and coming back with a fresh brain, or crowdsourcing some help from my fellow reviewers in a pre-launch mystery hunting Discord server set up by the publisher. Because despite being a single-player game, Animal Well will almost certainly end up being defined by its community. There are some puzzles I suspect will indeed take a village to solve, and the thrill of collaboration with other secret-hungry players kept me hooked on Animal Well long after my puzzle-solving powers were spent. Buckle up, puzzle sickos! Animal Well is a veritable feast of brain teasers that's far more concerned with twisting your mind into knots than any grueling platforming challenges. It's lovely to look at thanks to gorgeous pixel art and dynamic lighting, and an excellent use of haptics and well-tuned physics systems make it fun to touch, too. The steadily unlocked toy box of tools thoroughly rewards play, curiosity, and experimentation for hours upon hours after the credits roll. Though that late-game maze of mind-teasers might grate once in a while if you're reluctant to ask for help, the massive onion of Animal Well's secrets remains dense, clever, and thrilling even when you've peeled back as many layers as you think you possibly can, and then peeled a few more beyond that. For more 2D platforming adventures, check out our reviews of Pepper Grinder or Tales of Kinzara, Zao. And for everything else, stick with IGN.